What's up, guys? Last week I told you that I was going to have my vaccine second dose on Saturday, April 10th, and that I had heard some people had a worse reaction to that one, and they took a few days to recover. And in my case, that's true. So I'm going to be out today, hopefully back Tuesday or Wednesday, and we'll continue with our stuff. In this class, creative writing, I have a plan where you're going to write a poem and then go through a few stages so that at the end of this, it'll have all the key stuff, all the stuff that makes a poem. And it doesn't matter if you put it all in the first stage. We'll get to it, and we'll make sure that if you are missing something, it'll be added in round 2 or round 3. So the first round was last time, and I said, pick a subject and then compare it to other things. That's what, half of poetry is really, metaphors and similes. And in our examples, we saw Sylvia Plath's cut, where she cut her finger and then said, oh, it's like this, it's like that, it's like this. And some of them were very reasonable, non-crazy jumps, and then some of them were like real dream logic, creative stuff. It's nice to have both. And then the other one we looked at was Shakespeare's sonnet that goes, as an imperfect actor on the stage. That one goes the opposite order. He doesn't say what it's about. He starts with the comparisons first, but it doesn't matter. And he says, oh, my problem is that I can't say how much I love this person because I'm overwhelmed. It's like choking me, It's giving me stage fright like an actor, or it's giving me sort of rage like a beast, or some fierce thing replete with too much rage. Who drinks abundance weakens his own heart. And so I'm just kind of like burning up and not accomplishing anything. That is another example of this. So you guys have your first idea, and you probably need another day to work on that. So I'm going to read a couple poems today, and then I'm going to save the next step for next time. I'll tell you what it is in case you want to look ahead. But I don't actually have poems right in front of me. I'm staring into a webcam, so I'm going to do 2 that I have memorized, and they are 2 other Shakespeare sonnets. So they're very short. Shakespeare sonnets are all the same pattern, 14 lines, ABAB rhyme scheme down to the end when you have a pair. And then they're about love, but they're about all different kinds of love. It could be nice and happy and optimistic. It could be, oh, you betrayed me and it's bad. Or it could be somewhere in between. A lot of them have little, moments where it changes your mind and it's like, oh, this seemed bad, but actually it's okay, and getting around problems. So let me give you 2 that are a bit different. So one is going to be a sad one. We've got, I don't remember the numbers, but this is a later number because they're often arranged where it kind of starts happy and then gets into a disaster mode. Kind of like songs on an album, sometimes they tell an arc as you go. And in this one, it's about someone who has been betrayed and feels bad about it. So, my love is as a fever, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease, feeding on that which doth preserve the ill, uncertain sickly appetite to please. But my reason, the physician to my love, angry that his prescriptions are not kept, hath left me, and I desperate now approve. Desire is death, which physic did accept. Past cure I am, now reason is past care, and frantic mad with ever more unrest. My thoughts and my discourse as madman's are, at random from the truth, vainly expressed. For I have sworn thee fair, and thought thee bright, who art as black as hell, as dark as night. So maybe I thought of that one because of the disease comparison. My love is as a fever, and he talks about how, like, my love is a bad thing, and I'm feeling this, but it's burning me up in a different way than the last one. But it ends up by saying, for I have sworn thee fair, and thought thee bright, who art as black as hell, as dark as night. So I thought you were great. I told people you were great, but in fact, you are, the end of me. You're something bad. And by the way, Shakespeare, you've got hell and you got damn, and he's got like some words that might count as profanity, and of course he saves those for like the big moments. He doesn't have the same profanity that Quentin Tarantino has. But when you bring out one, it's a real moment, you know. So there's one, and it does a similar thing where it compares. But the reason I wanted to focus on it is that thing at the end where it's like, I told people you were great, I thought you were great, and then it's the opposite. So one thing I might recommend if you're still getting your ideas down, getting that sort of first version of the poem, have a moment where it switches real quick. One line is happy, one line is sad. One line is fast, one line is slow. Something like that can really give you a core to build it around. Just like the rattlesnake poem we saw, where it was nice and slow, and then I crushed him deep in dust. Out of nowhere, it really goes, ooh, what's going on? And you take notice. So another Shakespeare sonnet is going to be a lighter one that's kind of optimistic. And it goes, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. No, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do a different one. Let's see here. I don't have anything. I'm looking at myself in a webcam. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines the time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. See, that's a nice one. It's like, hey, I love this person. Maybe it's someone he just recently met. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Because that's what you do in a poem, especially a sonnet. There's a classic pattern they follow. It's like, oh, your hair is like this and your eyes are like this. And if you step past that and say, oh yeah, but does that matter? I don't know. This poem is like, well, summer fades, in a couple months it'll be dead and gone. So is that really a good comparison? Because I hope that doesn't happen to you. He does the same thing in Romeo and Juliet, where he's like, oh, don't swear by the moon, because the moon is going to be gone. It's it's not constant. The poem in the second half turns around and says, but you're not the same. You're going to live forever. And how are you going to live forever? Not in a normal way. You're just a human, but you're going to live forever in the poem, because people are still going to read it. And we are right now, a couple hundred years later. So maybe that worked. Now, that is just some more examples. I want to get you guys to hear a couple poems every day and not just base it off one or two as like the only poems you ever see. Next time, we're going to look at a different thing. I'm going to look at a poem or two poems that are all about the very end of the line. So if you have a rhyme, and a lot of poems rhyme, which including all the ones I just read, the last word is extremely important because that's where it rhymes. You got to make it sound a certain way. Usually you have a certain amount of syllables leading up to it. But even if you don't, it's still the most important part. The last word is extremely key for the rhythm. That's where you kind of pause. For the meaning, usually you have like your core, content words, not any of the filler stuff or not any of the transitional stuff, but that's like what it's about, what's happening, what's going on. And that's also just, it's sort of like the punchline of a joke. If you're a comedian and you tell the funny part and keep going, that's bad practice because people won't hear it if they're laughing. So you have to say the funny part and then stop. And it's almost like in a poem, you have to say the good part and then stop for a minute and let people, their eyes go to the next line. And that's where you got to put all the good stuff. So I won't do that today. I'd like to be there with you when we do, but that'll be the next lesson if you want to take a look and kind of keep that in mind, is putting all the good stuff at the end of the line. If you have a boring word at the end, rearrange it. If you have a good word in the middle, maybe put that over there. And you don't have to rhyme, you don't have to have a certain pattern, but it's still big. Thanks.